Chad Doing.
1-0 pitch to Freddie. He swings and he hits a fly ball shallow into center field. It's going to drop. Here comes Outman around third. He will score, and the Dodgers take a 3-2 lead in the 11th. On the run is Pages. He'll make the catch along the line, and the ball game is over. And the Dodgers get 3 in the top of the 11th to win an extra innings ball game. They take 2 of 3 from the Giants.
Here's the stretch, and the 1-2 on the way to Polanco. Swing and a well-hit ball deep to right field. How about this? Goodbye, baseball. And Polanco unties it. The Mariners' 4th home run of the afternoon, and it's now the Mariners 5 and the Tigers 4. And the 0-2 pitch swing and a miss, strike 3, it's over. And the Mariners sweep aside the Tigers here in Detroit. A final score of 8-4.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
Well, you got to appreciate the Mariners doing just enough to tease you into believing they're not done yet. That was a great series in Detroit against the Tigers, coming off that poor showing in New York against the Yankees. What's going on, my friends? Hope you're enjoying the beautiful sunshine on this Monday with the warmer temperatures. I certainly am enjoying the summertime weather right now, and I'm looking forward to the show today because we got a lot of good things to talk about, including the Trailblazers Summer League and the play of their newest center, Young Hansen from China. I got to tell you what, going into Summer League, I didn't know what to expect, and I honestly did not know what to expect when it came to Young Hansen, but I don't think that the Blazers could have dreamed up a better debut for their rookie than what we saw in the first 2 Summer League games. Awesome. And again, I'm not going to overreact because it's Summer League basketball, but I think there's some very good signs right there. And I've got some intel on his popularity, how big he is in China, and what some of the people around the NBA think outside of Portland on Young Hansen. So pretty cool stuff. And we got the show set up to focus on that. Travis Demers, the voice of your Trailblazers, and my good friend, going to join the show at 3:20. Sean Hiken, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, will hop on board at 4:20. And then my man Chris Burkhart will join me in studio at 5:20. Now, if you want to be a part of the program, you're more than welcome to do so. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number, 503-248-0620. One simple question for you today. What are your impressions on Young Hansen through a couple of Summer League games? What's your take? What did you think about the way he played? Did his play or comfort level on the floor surprise you? What were your impressions, your first impression of Young Hansen? 503-248-0620. Of course, you can listen to the program on 620 Rip City Radio through your radio dial. You can join us, as always, on our free iHeartRadio app. You can always stream the show live, and we podcast everything there. So the iHeartRadio app is a great way to get involved. And, of course, you can check us out on YouTube. All of our local shows are streamed live. And you can join the party right there and see my hideous grill and what it looks like in studio by going to youtube.com and just look up Rip City Radio 620 and subscribe and like the page. And then, boom, you can watch all of our local shows there. So 503-248-0620. All right, so we go back to draft night, and the Blazers, they made the move. They moved back a few spots. And they ended up taking Young Hansen in the first round. And it was one of those moments where the majority had no idea who he was. And I'm going to be honest with you, I had never heard of Young Hansen. And so when they selected him, I'm like, wait, what? Who's that? I had no idea. I had seen the name, but that's about it. I've never watched Chinese basketball. I wasn't aware of Young Hansen. And that's when you realize that the Blazers took a guy projected to go in round number 2 in the first round. And I think if I had to guess, most of the apprehension in Rip City from Blazer fans came from the fact that the name that was up on the board when the Blazers made their selection was a name that no one had heard of. And when you go into a draft and you follow basketball or any sport, it could be football, hockey, baseball, whatever. You go into a draft, you're expecting certain names based on the mock drafts that are out there. Meaning you've got all these different mocks, you've got the people who break down the players, and they've got a good idea of where players are going to be selected. And when your team's player doesn't match up with the mocks that are out there, and you've never heard of the player or seen him play, I think that creates apprehension. But the Blazers, after hearing from Joe Cronin, and I had a chance to catch up with Mike Schmitz shortly after the draft, they were very confident in their selection. Very confident. And they've been scouting him for 2 years. They had intel on him. They had been following him around, paying close attention to his every move. And they realized that, hey, this is a player we believe in, and we're going to take a chance on him. Now, I heard over the weekend from someone I trust that there's a darn good chance that if the Blazers had not selected Hansen at number 16, he was going to go at the very next pick at number 17. Now, I also heard, and I can't give up the GM's name because this was told to me in confidence, but one of the best GMs in basketball was asked about Hansen. And this person said that they thought the selection of Hansen was really good. They also really liked him throughout the entire process, and they had him high up on their board. In other words, they were impressed with the cojones of Joe Cronin to select a player that they thought was really good. And this is one of the most respected basketball minds right now in the NBA. So that's good to hear. Now, I was texting with Ben Golliver, who's down at Vegas as well. And Sean Hiken's down there. He's going to join the show at 4:20. And Ben Golliver, said that he's a fan favorite, that he's taken the place by storm down there with his size, with how nimble he is at his size and the plays he's been able to make through 2 games. And that's pretty exciting. Now, the one thing I noticed with Hansen is that I think he's being hampered a bit by the lack of talent around him and by the actual play at Summer League. I didn't have high expectations going in because that's a tough game, Summer League basketball, for any NBA big man. But he looked pretty comfortable out there. And to me, that's very impressive. Very impressive for, quote, a second-round pick that the Blazers took in the first round at number 16. In that first game that the Blazers got the win against the Warriors, Hansen played 24 minutes, had 10 points, 5 assists, had a steal, 3 blocks. But most impressively to me, just 3 turnovers. He looked really comfortable out there. The moment didn't look too big for him. He didn't look too nervous. I know he said after the game that he felt like there were some mistakes he made, but of course, he's a rookie playing his first bit of NBA action. There are going to be mistakes. But I thought his comfort level and the way he moved on the floor, 10 points, 4 boards, 5 assists, a steal, 3 blocks, and just 3 turnovers. In that second game against Memphis that the Grizzlies won, 26 minutes for Hansen, 10 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, and a block. He had 5 turnovers in game number 2, which, again, to be expected because Summer League basketball is not built for big men. But all in all, he exceeded my expectations. I wasn't expecting much at all, but I tuned in because I couldn't wait to see it because he is a unique player at that type of size. Now, we know from hearing from Cronin following the draft and in my conversation with Mike Schmitz, the one skill that they thought was elite, that jumped out, that they thought would translate really well to the NBA was his passing ability. And you all saw it on display. His feel for the game, the passing, he's one of those guys where he's going to set up his teammates. And I haven't seen a player like that. It reminds me a lot of Sabonis and the way Sabonis was, elite with his passing. He had the vision, the anticipation. He could put the ball right on the money to a cutting player for an easy bucket. So I'd love to see Hansen out there with that type of vision and that feel for the game. And it reminds me of what Chauncey Billups said after the draft when he was asked about the communication gap and the fact that he doesn't speak English. And Billups made a very simple point. He's like, hey, basketball is a universal language. meaning when he's on the floor and he's with his teammates, there are certain signs and signals that regardless of where you come from or what language you speak, you're going to understand what's going on. And that allows you to put the ball in the money, to be in the right place, and to have a good feel for your teammates. So I think, after seeing it and understanding what Coach Billups was talking about, that Hansen, in this transition of being a young man, jumping to the NBA, coming to a brand new country, getting a feel for everything. You got to imagine his whole world's upside down, doesn't speak English. He's going to feel most comfortable on the basketball floor. And that's what we saw. And the honesty or the reality is, if you look at the roster right now, DeAndre Ayton was bought out. He's now with the Lakers. Robert Williams III is a very good player, but he's played, 26 games since coming over from the Celtics? So we don't know what his availability is going to be. You've got Duop Reif, who's a different type of center, more of a pick-and-pop type player. And then you've got the starter in Donovan Clingan. I mean, it looks like the Blazers are going to play him, and it looks like young Hansen will get regular minutes throughout the course of the regular season, which I think is a good thing because it's going to allow him the opportunity to get up, play, and be able to develop. And then we'll see what type of player he can become. But I'm hoping, and, when I saw him out there looking so comfortable, I'm like, what if the Blazers got the all-time steal here? What if they discovered a second-round player who's going to turn out to be a star? So we'll have to sit and wait and watch and see what happens. Now, again, I caution you, it's difficult because we watch Summer League and we get excited. You can't make bold predictions or really come away with too much from Summer League. But I think with the overall comfort level and the way he's able to move and his passing ability, which was on display, he looks a lot better than what I would have imagined he looked. That's what I can say. And I think reason to be excited. And I'll give you some of the numbers on Hansen in terms of his popularity a little bit later in the show. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive, it's Monday, just after 3 o'clock. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you, my friends. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can listen on the free iHeartRadio app. You can also podcast the show there or join us on YouTube. Just go to Rip City Radio 620 on YouTube, and you can watch all of our live streams right there. Travis Demers, the voice of your Trailblazers, is going to join us next. We'll get his take on what he saw from Hansen over the first couple of games here on the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Travis Demers is going to join us in just a moment. I mentioned a couple of numbers, and we'll dig into this with Sean Hiken. But apparently, the Trailblazers' first Summer League game was made available on CCTV so that people in China could watch. The number I heard was 4 million viewers. That is a massive number for a Summer League game. Also, the jersey sales for young Hansen so far, 10 times the number at this point this year compared to last year with Donovan Clingan. Now, keep in mind, there are more people, NBA fans in China, than there are people who live in the U.S. I think our population is now at 340 million. You've got 1.4 billion in China. The NBA is huge over there, and young Hansen has a chance to become a star in the NBA. He is huge back home. All right, let's welcome in my good friend and the voice of your Portland Trailblazers, Travis Demers. What's up, TD?
What's happening, Chad?
Oh, dude, it's great to talk with you. And, well, first off, you just celebrated a birthday of one of your sons. How did it go with Lawson?
Oh, Lawson's birthday was great. Yeah, we had he went to a little horse farm thing for his birthday. He loves the animals, so we get to pet the horses and feed the horses and, pet some bunny rabbits. He loved it, man.
Well, I thought about you because I went on a road trip with Isaac, and we stopped at Black Bear Diner twice in Wairika, and Black Bear Diner, like Lawson, one of Isaac's favorites as well.
Well, look, I'm sure Isaac has some, nostalgic memories of that place.
Yes.
That's going to be Lawson's favorite place forever. When it's your favorite place as a kid, even if it's a place that's not any good, you're going to want to go back there as an adult because, you remember it as a kid. So.
That's right. Lawson looks at Black Bear Diner like you do a Waffle House.
Yeah, exactly. Except I didn't get into Waffle House till I was a grown-up, and it's terrible, but it's delicious.
Well, I got to tell you what, I can't think of – I don't think I could have dreamed up a better debut for young Hansen. Like, what were some of the things that jumped out at you in that first game against Golden State when you watched him for the first time?
Well, I mean, the passing obviously stands out, right? The passing, the confidence. We heard Joe and Chauncey talk about his body and his physicality. Like, he doesn't shy away from any of that stuff. Like, could he stand to put on some more muscle? Yeah, of course he could. But he's ripped, man. Like, he's ready to roll. He is, for 20 years old and just barely 20 years old, he is in prime physicality to play in this league. He obviously has to learn what that physicality means and how to use it. But to me, like, when that pick was made and by the end of draft night, we're thinking, okay, like, this is a project and, like, he's got all these tools, but he might be a project. But he's not a project. He's ready to go. He can play now.
I mean, that's the part that's amazing to me. If you just look at the roster, I was just talking about this. You've got Robert Williams III, who is a great player, but injuries have really plagued his opportunities in Portland thus far. DeAndre Ayton is now with the Lakers, and you've got Duop Reif, who's a different type of a matchup center. I mean, I think he's going to get regular minutes throughout the season, which is great because that's going to give him an opportunity to develop quicker.
Yeah, and look, Duop was in the rotation, kind of the last, 30, 35 games or so. He was not in the rotation to start the year. He did not play much to start the year, but when you had injuries to Ayton, obviously Williams wasn't playing much. There were times where Clingan was banged up. Reif got some more opportunities. So I don't know that Reif is going to be out of the rotation, but I don't know that he's going to be in the rotation to start the year, right? So if that's the case, and you've got 48 minutes for that position,
yeah.
If Clingan is your starter, and I don't know that he is, you're going to want him to play, 27-ish, 28 minutes a night? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that ballpark? So does that mean that, Young gets the other 20 minutes or so for now? And when Robert Williams is healthy, and I only say that not to speak poorly of him, he just hasn't been healthy. He's played 26 games in 2 years as a Trailblazer. When he's healthy, is he going to get some of those other minutes? Is he going to play, the 4, which we've seen him do? Because we're not going to see Clingan and Young on the floor together. But we could see one of those guys with Williams on the floor. We saw Williams and Ayton. We saw a little bit of Williams and Clingan at times. So that could happen. But I would imagine that you're going with, Klingon and Young as your centers, as your main two guys.
We're talking to Travis Demers, the voice of your Trailblazers here on the Rip City Drive, taking a look at Trailblazers Summer League. What jumped out at me, Travis, going into Summer League, usually for the big men, a guy like Hansen, it can be a struggle out there because of the physicality and the way the game is called. I was just impressed with his overall comfort level, especially in the first game. Just 3 turnovers. The passing was evident, but the way he moved and he was out there playing with confidence, I did not expect that.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I mean, the things that the way that Joe Cronin talked about him, the way that Chauncey Billups talked about him, it made you think that, okay, this guy actually is the real deal, and maybe we should expect more from him. And then he showed us just that. Like, it tells us that the scouting that Joe and Mike and their entire staff has done, they had this guy pinpointed for a long time. And they even said it that they had hoped he came out in last year's draft when he would have been, 19 years old. And when he went back into the draft, or went back, to play another year, that gave other teams more of an opportunity to scout him. Maybe they would have got him as a second-round pick last year. Who knows? But they have had their eye on him for a reason. And you and I have talked about this. When it comes to a player evaluation of young guys, I really trust this team's front office.
Yes.
And this pick and the fact that they've been on him the way they have, it just makes me feel that way even more.
Yeah, and you've always made this point ever since I've known you that when it comes to a front office, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, whatever, if you truly believe in a player and you believe that that is your guy, then you execute it and make it happen to get your guy because you believe in him that much. You've got to trust your process. So I respect the fact that they were aggressive, and I also have been told that they believe he would have been taken in the first round. Had they not taken him at 16, he would have gone real quick.
Yeah, and all these reports about, the Pelicans reportedly offering the number 23 pick, and, for number 11 and a future unprotected pick, the one that Atlanta got, they don't believe that Young would have been there at 23. And the more the time goes by and the more that, the draft night unfolds and we're hearing what happened, I tend to agree with that he wouldn't have been there at 23. And it sounds like there are reports out there that he would have been off the board at 17 to Minnesota. So they had an opportunity to get their guy in a spot that they were comfortable with it, and they did. And you have to respect what they did.
I respect Hansen's – he's 20 years old, just turned 20, Trav, and he's got an entire nation on his back. He's over in a new country, doesn't speak the language. He's 20 years old, and everything that he has known is now upside down as he adjusts to the NBA game, which is the best of the best. And yet he's doing it with a smile on his face. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he seems to have a great personality, and everything that you see about him, everything that you hear about him is that he really fits in. And there was a point where, I don't remember who it was, where there was a miscommunication and there was a pass that was a turnover and a bad cut. And he's, kind of on the floor talking about that, with hand signals and things like that. Like, he gets it. He's a smart guy. And to your point, being 20 years old and going to a foreign land where you're now facing the best of the best, I don't know that at my age I would be able to go into a foreign land, especially where the language is so different. The letters are different. Imagine, the street signs in a place like that if you're driving, but completely as different of a place as you could possibly be. I don't know that I could do that now.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you because I've got nothing but mad respect for you. How old were you when you drove from Westchester, New York, out to Portland, Oregon, and then shortly after that we're calling games in Astoria? That's a big jump for a young man.
Yeah, I was 21. Sight unseen.
That's manly, Travis. That's manly.
I guess it was. And, so I was driving a U-Haul towing my car. And when you're towing something, it's totally different. And I'm on 84 in Eastern Oregon where there's no shoulder, there's no guardrail. It's really steep. I thought I was going to die. Somehow I made it through, but I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, the only time I've ever towed something, was one of those moments where I'm like, well, I'm never doing that again. I felt unsafe the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need that in my life. All right, aside from Hansen, has anyone else caught your eye? Maybe your thoughts on City Siasco or Caleb Love? Anything else jump out at you?
Yeah, Caleb Love has played well. I think he's also trying to make a name for himself, and is playing like a young guy in that situation would be. City Sissoko has played really well. Roops had a great first game, wasn't as good in the second game, but you expect him to make strides this year. When I look at Love and Sissoko, and they have really shined, the Summer League is really designed for those guys, their type of players to succeed, right? So when they have a high level of success in the Summer League, it doesn't automatically translate the same way to the NBA. And I'm not saying they won't be good NBA players, but they're both two-way guys. Sissoko is going into his third year in the NBA as a two-way player. Caleb Love didn't get drafted. He is a two-way player. There have been plenty of two-way guys who have really made it in the NBA. I just caution people to fall in love with those guys and just assume they're going to be part of the rotation because they had a great summer league, because we have seen so many guys before have great summer leagues that it doesn't quite translate to the NBA season. So I'm optimistic and I'm excited from what I've seen from those guys, but I'm also, having some cautious optimism because it does not always translate from the summer league to those guys.
How antsy
to the league for those guys.
Hey, Trav, how antsy do you get during the off season, which is, extended because you go from working all the time to all of a sudden having free time? How antsy do you get to call an NBA game like right now?
Dude, you have no idea, man. You have no idea. The last game was like 92 days ago. It was April 13th. Don't ask me why I know that, but I do.
Gosh.
And so we have passed the halfway point for me to go from the last game of the season to when stuff for me really starts to ramp up at the league broadcast meetings and the Rip City Rally and things like that in mid-September. But we're not yet at the halfway point from the last game to the next game. So, I'm ready to go. I love the time with my kids. It's great. I love having, some free time to be able to do some things, sleep late sometimes. But I'm ready to roll, man. Let's go.
Dude, I got to be honest. It was so awesome when you showed me that video where you were talking to Lincoln and you were trying to get him to spell I cup, and he would say I see, and then he would just burst up into like that awesome belly laughter of a young one where he couldn't even finish it because it was so funny to him. I love that.
Dude, all those dumb things that we did when we were kids that made us laugh. I'm teaching all that stuff to them. This summer they've seen Back to the Future and Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. They were reenacting scenes last night from Jurassic World and pretending to be the characters and all that stuff. Like, it's great, man. That's like the best part of me as a dad is watching my kids have fun. And one thing they are really good at is having fun. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love hearing the chaos when I'm talking to you on the phone. Now, I know you're a big Jurassic fan. Have you seen the new movie yet?
I did. I saw it on July 4th. I thought it was good. It doesn't have any of the characters from any of the other movies. It's a different story. I liked it, though. I thought it was good. Okay. I enjoyed it.
Okay, I trust your recommendation, then I'll check it out. I saw Superman last night. I took Kaylee to go see Superman.
How was it?
It's good. I think Man of Steel, it's hard to beat that one because you had great actors and the film was well conceived, but I was entertained last night, and that's all I asked for when I pay, $16 for a ticket, is just to be entertained, and it was good.
Yeah, I hear a lot of it. Well, it wasn't like the other movie in this series, and it wasn't as good as I don't care. As long as I'm enjoying myself while I'm watching it, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, and every Jurassic movie I've watched, I've enjoyed. I've been entertained.
Yeah, they've been good.
All right, Travis Demers is the voice of your Trailblazers, and Portland will continue their Summer League action tomorrow. Trav, I appreciate the time, man. It's great to get your insight, and it's really cool to see Blazer fans excited about Hansen, man. They're having a good time watching him.
Yeah, man, that's one of the best things about this is there's optimism and excitement around this team. There really hasn't been like this for quite some time. It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, buddy. We'll catch up soon.
All right, brother. Thanks.
There you go. There's Travis Demers. Love talking with him, and great to get his insight on what he's seeing so far. Telephone number 503-248-0620. really what I'm wanting to know from you today is, well, what are your impressions? Like, what is your take on what you've seen from young Hansen this far? Do you like it? Has his play in the 2 games surprised you? I think Travis made a good point. He didn't really know what to expect. I didn't either. I just wanted to see him. I mean, he's big, but I love the passing, the vision. That's something that jumps out big time. The passing ability, you can see it. And I thought the comfort level with how he was moving around on the floor was really good. And that's what you want. You want to see that type of comfort, the movement. And he's going to get a chance to play this year, just on the basis of the roster alone. But, man, could be a great opportunity. The Blazers, they are going to bring in a whole new set of fans. The NBA is huge in China. Huge. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can reach out to me on social at Chad and Rip City. And you can also check out YouTube. Go to youtube.com and just pull up Rip City Radio 620. Subscribe to our channel, and you can watch all of our shows, the live stream inside the studio. Now, I do want to remind everyone, 1 week from today, which I believe is July 21st, it's going to be the We Play Foundation Golf Tournament. And that's going to be an opportunity for you to participate and support the We Play Foundation. It's put on by Alex Brink and Ryan DiPaolo, who are from E4 Sports, former Duck, former Coug, and it's a great time. 1:45 shotgun start at Langdon Farms Golf Club, and 100% of the proceeds go to support We Play Foundation. So you can go to weplay.org/events. That right there is the golf page, and you can sign up as a single or a foursome and take part in the fun. That's going to be next Monday. I will be there. Alex Brink's going to be there. Ryan DiPaolo, and many other big names. But more importantly, it's a chance to play golf during the summer weather and support a very good cause. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Jump on board. I want to hear from you, and we'll get to your phone calls here in just a moment. 503-248-0620. Let's go to Tall Tim. Hey, Tim, I appreciate the call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind?
Well, the first game, I was up in the woods celebrating my mom's 100th birthday, the whole gang. So I just watched the game, watching play-by-play feed on my phone. That's how dedicated I am. And then, of course, watched the highlights later. And I was pretty impressed just for those guys to just jump out of the chute, and they're already making some cuts, making passes, and I think like you, it's just like, hey, can this guy hang at all? Can he run up and down the floor? Does he look like he belongs? And the answer is a resounding yes. He's got a lot of work to do, but he can play, and you can already see that he's got unique skills. And then game 2, when Memphis has already played, 3 games in the Utah League, and then they bring in some ringers that played seriously last year, and he's basically hung with them until Hansen just got completely winded, and he said he couldn't even feel his legs. But you could see the impact. As soon as he went to the bench, we couldn't stay with him. And as tired as he was, he kept us in, helped us keep us in the game. I did like Ceedy, had a pretty good game, second game. I don't know what happened to Roops, kind of just disappeared on us. But I'm pretty impressed. And then the other thing that I like is that, the interviews, he's just talking about what he needs to do to get better, how he needs to compete more, what he needs to improve on. And I also like Coach Ronnie is just keeping it positive, keeping everybody's spirits up and talking about things to work on. But very positive. I like that guy. I don't know that much about him, but he just seems like a really good coach, especially for summer league. So I'm all in on Hansen at this point. What was your impression?
Well, Tim, I thought that his overall comfort level was terrific. I was impressed that he only had 3 turnovers in the first game. The passing, which both Mike Schmitz and Joe Cronin mentioned being elite, you could see that right away. They really believe that skill is going to translate well. I thought he moved a lot better than I would have envisioned for a man of his size. So, yeah, I was blown away because I didn't have high expectations going in. But very impressive, and I don't think they could have dreamed up a better debut than what they got from him in that first game. And he followed it up with a solid performance, even though he got winded in game number 2 against Memphis. All right, we'll come back, and we'll get back to your phone calls. Tim in Milwaukee wants to share some thoughts on Hansen. So, Tim, hang in there. We'll get to you. The stage will be yours in a couple of moments. Sean Hiken coming up at 4:20. You got the Rip City Drive. Chad Doing, Brendan Slaughter with you on this Monday on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. I'll share my spoiler-free Superman review a little bit later in the show. I went and saw it last night with my daughter and her friend. I also was up in Seattle on Saturday evening. Somehow my daughter talked me into taking her and a friend up to the Weekend concert. And Playboy Cardi opened for the Weekend.
Good dad.
Yeah. I told her after that experience, if you don't know that I love you now, then you never will. So I've got some thoughts on that as well. 65,000 plus at Lumen Field for the show. Now, again, it's not necessarily my genre, but as I read up on the Weekend, obviously I'd heard a lot of his songs, but did some intel on the Weekend, and he's big time. But the show was wildly popular up there, and it went for a long time. He did 40 songs. Now, I think some of them were shorter versions, but, 3 hours plus, 40 songs. He was out there working. All right, let's go out to the phones. Tim in Milwaukee. The question today is very simple. What are your impressions on young Hansen at Summer League through the first two games? I was surprised. Did not expect to see what I saw. The passing is elite. His feel for the game is obvious. And I just thought the overall comfort level with how he was operating on the floor, not looking nervous, playing with confidence. And I think Chauncey's right. Basketball is a universal language. Even if you don't speak the same language as your teammates, when you're on the floor together, they know what to do and how to operate. Let's go to Tim in Milwaukee. Tim, the stage is yours, my friend. Fire away.
Thank you for taking my call, Chad. As always, here on a Monday, when I look at young Hansen, I think about a lot of young professionals entering the workforce from the country of China. We have a generation of elite massage parlors up and down McLaughlin Boulevard because of China. I'm excited for these people entering the country as professionals, as we should respect them as such. And one summer doesn't speak to the expertise of their experience, because you have to go back over and over again if you want to experience release. And that's my thoughts on.
Tim, I'm going to put you on hold just to protect you from yourself and to save the show. I know where you're going, but it felt like it was getting a little bit risky. But I respect you, and you're welcome to call the show anytime. We all need safeguards in life. I have them. I have to provide them for you. And I just felt like it was a good time to end that phone call.
I think that might have been the move, Chad.
I have nothing to add to any of that. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number.
I'll give you a transition, Chad. I'm jealous you got to see Playboy Cardi. Now, that is something that I would have liked to have seen.
No, You're trying to set me up right now. I'm not going to get pulled in. I know what you're doing right now, and I don't like it. I will get to my review of the concert. I will say I was not impressed with Playboy Cardi. Had no idea who Playboy was, but now I know. Now I know, unfortunately. But the Weekend, he was doing some work out there. 3 hours plus. 503-248-0620. I do not want your opinions or any type of take on any massage parlors around town. I don't need that. They're there. Everyone knows where you can go to get a massage. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Now, according to Tony out in Boring, his daughter went to the show. Caitlin says there were 69,000 people in attendance at the concert. And apparently she agrees with my take on Playboy Cardi, which I'll get to. That's a lot of people. That place was packed, really packed. Now, Sean in Damascus sent in a message about young Hansen. He said, I really wasn't surprised at all. I've been watching a bunch of highlights of Hansen since we drafted him in the His passing ability is quite amazing. There will be a lot of players on the receiving end of some amazing passes, I believe. I would agree. I mean, I love watching. I think what it is that I was such a big fan of Arvydas Sabonis. His vision and anticipatory passing was next level. And I loved watching him be able to set his teammates up. And he was, at that type of size, when you're, 7 feet plus, you can see over the top of the defense. So you can see things happen, you can anticipate, and you can, drop dimes to your teammates. And Hansen's got that ability, which is great. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Sean Hiken will join us live from Vegas. Our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report will get his take on what he's seen in person. And then Chris Burkhart going to join me in studio at 5:20. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can also check us out on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, pull up Rip City Radio 620. Sean Hiken at 420. All right, what's going on, my friends? Chad here. It's now 4 o'clock. Hope you're enjoying your Monday afternoon. The Blazers continue Summer League action tomorrow night in Vegas. 7 o'clock tip against the Pelicans. You can watch it on KUNP. Coming up on the Rip City Drive, we'll talk with Sean Hiken at 4:20. Chris Burkhart in studio at 5:20. We'll get their thoughts on the play of young Hansen. Courtside Monday goes live at 6 with Burkhart here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Victor Wembanyama has been cleared to return to action following a blood clot in his foot. Garrett Wilson, 4-year, $130 million extension with the Jets. 49ers wideout Juwan Jennings wants a new deal or to be traded. He's scheduled to make $7.5 million this year. An all-star break for Major League Baseball. Home Run Derby launches tonight at 5. You can watch it on ESPN. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. All right, Sean Hiken, our Trailblazer insider from the Rose Garden Report, is going to join the show coming up at 4:20. He's down in Las Vegas for Summer League, so we'll get his take on everything that he's seen as we do a deep dive on young Hansen. And just to reset my thoughts quickly, I was impressed with the way he took the floor in that first game against the Warriors. I think the two games that we've seen in Vegas from Hansen, I don't think the Blazers could have dreamed up a better scenario or debut for Hansen. The passing would appear to be elite, which is something they believed when they drafted him. And his movement and the way he operates with a guy of that size is very impressive. Only 3 turnovers in the first game. He looks like a player. And he's immensely popular. 4 million viewers on CCTV. I mean, he's huge in China. And they've got 1.4 billion people in their country. A lot of NBA fans. 10 times the number of jerseys sold at this point this year compared to Klingon last year. He's big time, but played extremely well and operated with comfort, which I think is nice. So we'll dive into that with Sean Hiken coming up at 4:20. And then Chris Burkhart will join me in studio at 5:20. Now, of course, you can reach out to me on social at Chad and Rip City. At Chad and Rip City. Now, Scotty Bethune, who was very kind, sent me a ball mark, a Denver Bronco ball mark that I received last week. He made it himself. It's got the old Broncos D on the front. And on the back, it says, "Show me your Bronco." It's a great ball mark. So I really appreciate that. He's upset with the open of the show today because he's a Giants fan, and we played an inordinate number of Dodger highlights in the open. Now, Scotty, don't blame me. That's on Brendan. He selects the clips. He produces the open. So point the finger at Brendan if you would like to log any complaints, my friend. And besides, to be fair, we did open up the show last week with the inside the park home run that won the game for the Giants. It was a remarkable call from Coop and Kipe. I loved it. So we got equal play here, my friend. 503-248-0620. So this past weekend, I was up in Seattle. I went for the weekend concert up at Lumen Field. And I knew there were 65,000 plus, but Caitlin, daughter of Tony and Boring, informed me that it was 69,000 in attendance. All I know is that the place was packed. It looked like I was walking into a Seahawks game, but instead it was a concert. Now, that's not my genre. The Weeknd, Playboy Cardi, it's just not my style of music in terms of what I normally listen to. So I was unaware. Now, doing a little bit of deep dive before the concert, I realized that I'd heard a number of songs from Weeknd. So my daughter had reached out to me about a week before the show and was like, hey, Dad, do you think you could take me and my friend Brenna up to the concert? And that's one of those moments where I'm like, let me look at my calendar, and I'm praying that I have something in my calendar that I have to do that's work-related. The only problem is that day was blank, nothing going on. And I'm like, yeah, I think I can do that. And she's like, really? Seriously? And I'm like, yes, I can make it happen. And then I looked at ticket prices. I was like, oh, my gosh. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I was like, well, that's going to cost me about $400. So I hit up my guy in the promotions department, and Casey Beefwater was able to hook me up with tickets for the show. So that's a win. Now, if you've been to a concert in your lifetime, like let's say that a girlfriend pulls you to a country concert or your daughter pulls you to Playboy Cardi or whatever the case may be, if you go to a concert and it's not the type of music you normally listen to, sometimes that can be a less than quality experience. I had a girlfriend once who would pull me to country concerts, and I wasn't down at all. Didn't like it at all. She did pull me to Brooks and Dunn. They were nice. But most of these shows that we saw, I was like, I had no interest in that. But I was willing to do whatever was necessary because I wanted to hang with her. Raise your hand if you've ever done something, pretended to like something, just so you can hang out with a pretty girl. Yeah, we've all done that before. So I knew going to the show that I was like, okay, this is going to be rough. My daughter and her friend are going to have a great time. I'm probably not going to be totally down. So we drove up to Seattle. It took about 3 hours to get up there on Saturday. Traffic, as you might expect, a little bit maddening. Now, I had talked about the parking situation. I did. We parked out on Lander, which is like 1.3 miles from the crib, and we walked up. So I paid $0 for parking. That's a win. I didn't have to pay for the tickets. That's a win. And we walked up to the show. Weather was perfect. I wore shorts and a T-shirt, and the concert didn't get over until after 11, and I was perfectly comfortable. So we stopped at a Starbucks on the way up because the girls wanted to change into their concert gear. And seeing your 15-year-old daughter dress into concert gear, it's kind of frightening. But they both looked respectable and nice, and so we went up to the show. Now, Playboy Cardi, didn't know anything about him. He was the opening act and went for about 45 minutes, I would say. He was terrible. Playboy Cardi is not very good. Not a fan. And he was a little bit obscene. And so, of course, I'm going to hold that against him because I had my precious 15-year-old daughter's ears at the concert. So Playboy Cardi, a little bit over the top, and I really couldn't understand anything he was saying. And the bass, I'll say this about the bass. My dad was joking with me. He's like, you should probably, if you were smart, get some earplugs. I'm like, dude, I'm not getting earplugs. Well, he was right. I should have gotten the earplugs. The bass was so loud and the sound system was so nice. It was vibrating my entire body and it was tickling me. That's how loud the bass was. I couldn't understand anything that Playboy Cardi was saying. And a couple of F-bombs and whatever. Get him off the stage. But with The Weeknd, when he came out, and I respect any artist that comes out and he knows that his fans have paid big money to see the show. He put up 40 songs and went for over 3 hours. I mean, he was up there working his ass off. Very impressive. And what I like about The Weeknd, he ranges into a lot of different genres. Hip-hop, R&B, and even some jazzier type music. I think my favorite Weeknd song is Out of Time. But he put on a good show. Very impressive. But it was just fun because I was able to get some video. My daughter and her friend, they stood the entire concert. 3 hours. They were standing the whole time, dancing, screaming, just acting a fool and loving it. They had a blast. And after the show, I said, well, how was the concert? You guys are huge fans. What'd you think? And my daughter looked at me and she goes, Dad, you don't understand. That concert was so much better than you could possibly imagine. And that was the win right there. I got the W. The concert was not about me. The music was not about me. The genre was not about me. Nothing about that day was about me. It was about them. And they had a blast. And I got to give them credit, man. They were strong. Now, my daughter threw a fit, little teenage fit. The emotions of a daughter are 1 minute they're happy, the next minute the world is coming to an end. So she wanted Brenna to stay the night on Friday night. And I said no. she cannot stay the night. If she wants to come home and stay the night with us on Saturday after the show, because it's going to be so late when we get back, that's fine. But I need you to not have any distractions tonight. You're going to need to get a full night's rest because you're going to want to be rested going into Saturday because it's going to be a long day. And that's when the tears came and the emotion and all the drama. And I was a bad dad. And then she told me she felt sorry for Brenna because she said that she thought she'd be able to stay the night. And I said, just trust me, you're going to thank me later. Well, they went so hard and had so much energy flowing through their body. 30 minutes into the ride home, they were crashed out. And then Brenna got to stay the night, and then we went to go see Superman yesterday. It was a win, an absolute win. So I give major props to the weekend for the amount of effort, work, and his vocal work, and he was out there grinding for over 3 hours. And if you go out there and you get 40 songs up and you go for over 3 hours, I got nothing but respect. Now, I am not someone that enjoys a medley at a concert or shortened versions of songs, but I understand what he's doing there. If you go 40 songs and some of them are a shorter version, but you want to give a good sampling of everything, if you're going for over 3 hours, I can't complain about that. And that's man's work right there. And I did some reading on him. He's got, this is amazing to me, he's got 27 songs that have reached over 1 billion streams on Spotify, making him the first artist in Spotify history to achieve that feat. Additionally, he also has 7 songs with over 2 billion streams. And some of the songs on that list, as you might expect, Blinding Lights, Starboy, Die For You, Save Your Tears, Can't Feel My Face, I Feel It Coming, Earned It, Call Out My Name, One of the Girls, and Heartless. And I think he sold like 70 million records. The guy's big time. I think he's in his mid-30s, like around 35. But I also read that he's got, I don't know, what do you call it, social anxiety. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. I think he's an introvert, but man, he was really good on stage. Talked, interacted with the crowd, was very thankful for the love and support in Seattle. So I walked away impressed, and his vocal range is really good. So props to the weekend. Playboy Cardi, though, garbage. Come on, man, class it up, Playboy. But then again, what do you expect? His name is Playboy Cardi. So what's he going to do, keep it clean? It's like my daughter's only 15 for crying out loud. Tony just reached out again and said his daughter's eyes were shaking from the bass. It's true. I've never felt bass like that. Of course, when you go to an Eagles concert or a classic rock concert, they don't have the bass cranked up. I've never felt that before. Like my entire body was vibrating to the point where it was tickling me. I've never experienced that before. It was wild. It's true, though. I did. Hey, Dad, what do you got going on the 12th? Let me check my calendar. Please let there be something going on. Ah, crap. It's blank. All right, I can take you. I'm just being honest. I mean, maybe it only happens to people in other states, but I'm sure there are dads out there where you know the question's coming. You're like, oh, my gosh, I'm going to get stuck. But it was okay. It was good. More importantly, they had a great time. And I win hero dad for at least a day or two before I do something else to step in it and then get them mad at me again. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Sean Hiken, Rose Garden Report's going to join us next. And we'll get his take on what he's seen from young Hansen. He's down in Vegas for Summer League. We'll do it next on the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Rip City Drive, and very excited to talk to our next guest. He is our Trailblazers insider. You can read him at rosegardenreport.com. He is in Las Vegas for Summer League, and he's been putting out some very good stuff on his site, rosegardenreport.com. Sean Hiken is back with us. Sean, I was texting with someone who is in Vegas like you are a couple of nights ago, and they were blown away by how young Hansen has become a fan favorite down there, really taking the entire area by storm. I mean, what's your take on what you've seen so far from Hansen?
Oh, well, so on court, I think it's been a lot better than I even expected, but I'm sure we'll get to that. But as far as like the buzz and the atmosphere, I think this is the biggest story of Summer League this year, except for Cooper Flagg, who, full disclosure, I didn't actually see either one of Cooper Flagg's games because I had other stuff to do at those times. But from what I heard, he was like just as good as advertised. The Mavericks shut him down. But other than that, the biggest story of the entire Summer League has been young Hansen because, A, it was such a surprise that they picked him where they picked him, and people are just curious about it. And B, and I don't think this can be overstated, and we're going to be seeing this probably in Portland for years to come, especially if the kid pans out. But the amount of interest that there is in him from China is just like beyond, I think, what anybody in Portland and in the market and really in the NBA in a while has been used to. Like the day of his first game, like I started, I was just walking around the concourse at the Thomas and Mack Center, and I started seeing, probably before that first game even started, I saw probably like a half dozen Yang jerseys, just people wearing them in the crowd, and not all of them were Chinese fans too. It's not just like a cultural thing. It's like I think everybody is just all in on this kid before he even played a game, and then he plays, and his first possession of his first game, the Blazers win the jump ball, and he finds City Sissoko on a cut for a dunk, and that's the first possession, and then he throws a couple of other Jokic. I hate to use the Jokic thing because it's so overplayed already, but. So a couple of those highlight passes he threw were, pretty Jokic-esque, and then, it just kind of built from there. And yeah, it's like, even like people, other media folks I've been talking to, and people who cover other teams, and people in other teams' front offices are just, it's what everybody's talking about right now. He's like the surprise of Summer League because I don't think anybody really knew what to expect from him.
All right, Sean, you mentioned the excitement, the anticipation from the Chinese basketball fans. So you had given me a couple of numbers last night that are impressive. What did you learn about CCTV in terms of how many viewers they're able to get for that first Summer League game?
The number that I was told by one of the Chinese media members that was down there was that when they broadcast the first game on CCTV, that it was 4 million, which could be low because I don't know how these numbers are calculated. I know that like in America, when they say what the TV ratings are and how many people watched it, it's like kind of an inexact thing. But the official public number is that 4 million people in China watched the first Summer League game. And, just for some context, that's about the population of Oregon. And, 4 million is what an NBA playoff game probably gets in America for the most part. And so this idea that 4 million people are watching a Summer League game is it's just incomprehensible to me. But that's just the scope of like how big this whole thing is going to be, especially if he pans out and ends up being as good as the Blazers think he's going to be.
And what are some of the stats on young Hansen's jersey sales?
So I don't have the exact numbers on that in front of me, but someone with the team told me that they've sold exponentially more of his jerseys than they had sold Donovan Clingan jerseys this time last year. And Clingan, he has a pretty big fan base at UConn and was a pretty well-known college player, so he wasn't coming in as like a nobody. And UConn is a fan base that follows their guys into the NBA, so he had like a lot of support coming in. But apparently this young Hansen thing is just blowing it away completely. It's funny, when they first drafted him, I texted somebody I know who works for the Remix because I just figured he was probably, since they hadn't bought DA out yet at that point, that he was probably going to play a lot with the Remix. I texted somebody I know who works for the Remix that, the young Hansen G League jersey is going to be like the biggest selling G League jersey of all time. But after the way he looked in these first two games, I don't know how much he's going to be playing in the Remix. So it's just going to be a huge thing for like, I've seen like what the social engagement numbers are. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all. I don't know what's finalized and what's not, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if a team ends up hiring a Chinese social media person. So the amount of interest that there is in this is just, it's going to be pretty crazy.
Well, one more thing on the raw numbers. You made this point when you and I were chatting on the phone last night. So we know that the U.S. has a population of roughly 340 million people. China has a population of 1.4 billion. And as you put it, there are more NBA fans in China than there are people who live in the United States.
I think that's it's pretty hard for that not to be the case. Like, that's because it's just such a massive country that, and basketball is so popular there and has been for such a long time that, it is pretty huge. And the other thing about it is that, like, it's such a scarce thing with Hansen, because, like, there have only been 8 players who are, I'm not counting, like, Jeremy Lin, who is Chinese by heritage, but, was born in the U.S. and raised in the U.S. There are 8 players who are from China and born in China that have ever played in the NBA. The only one that ever did anything was Yao Ming. Like, so if Young Hansen is even like a quality backup rotation player, he's already the second best Chinese player in NBA history, because, like, Yi Jianlan never really did anything, and a couple of the other guys were all like Sun Yi. Remember Sun Yi from, like, the Lakers for 3-peat title teams, but he was just like an end of bench guy. Like, none of those guys ever did anything. And so if Hansen is even like an NBA rotation player, like, that's already putting him in rarefied air, because there's Yao Ming and there's really not much else. So the fact that you combine, like, the biggest country in the world as far as population of basketball fans with, they haven't had a player in the NBA who's actually good for, like, the longest time, that if this kid pans out, like, it could be like a worldwide phenomenon.
We're talking with Sean Hiken, our Trailblazer insider from RoseGardenReport.com. He is in Vegas for Summer League. You mentioned the passing. Both Joe Cronin and Mike Schmitz mentioned his passing as being elite, and one of the things that they thought would translate incredibly well to the NBA. We saw that in that first Summer League game right out of the gate. Now, for me, it was just his overall comfort level in terms of how he was operating out there in his first NBA-type action, and only 3 turnovers in that first game. But what were some of the things that jumped out at you? Because you had mentioned that, you were maybe a little bit surprised at how well he played. But what were some of the things that jumped out at you that you noticed right away with his game and the way he was able to operate?
Well, he was better defensively than I thought he was going to be. Like, the way he was protecting the rim was pretty impressive. And then the other thing I really liked, so I sit, like, right behind the basket on the baseline. That's where they have media seats for these games at Summer League. And so I was close enough to the court that, like, you can hear players talking, and he was calling stuff out. Like, he was calling out actions to teammates and yelling, like, cut, like he was, saying stuff. And, my understanding is that he doesn't really speak any English in, like, his everyday life and has a translator for that, but he knows enough basketball terminology that, A, he knows what the coaches are telling him in practices and he can understand it, and B, when he's out on the court, he can communicate with teammates without having to deal with a translator. Like, the language barrier is really more of an off-court thing than an on-court thing. So that part of it is just going to be huge for, how quickly he's going to get acclimated, for sure.
We're talking with Sean Hiken here on the Rip City Drive as we take a look at Summer League. The Trailblazers really showcasing some of their young players right now. The other thing that was mentioned to me by someone I was talking to down there, Sean, is that they thought that actually Hansen was being held back a little bit by just the overall style of play. Maybe some of the players that are on his team right now aren't at the same skill level, and, of course, the physicality and the way the game is played, that, he's doing exceptionally well considering the style of play at Summer League.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you always have to grade on a curve when it comes to bigs at Summer League in particular. Like, I mean, you look at, what Donovan Clingan last year, at Summer League, he showed what he could do defensively, and so that part was there, and that part ended up being, he was about as good at Summer League on that end as he was in the NBA in his rookie season. But for bigs, it's so hard to really do anything offensively if you don't have, like, the quality of guards that you have in the NBA. And, like, Caleb Love has been pretty good these first couple of games, but he's more of a scorer than he is a facilitator, and so it's hard for a big to really shine as far as like from an individual standpoint without somebody like that on the team. And so the thing I'm really excited for, and this is kind of to your point, he had in the second game he had 5 turnovers, and some of those turnovers that he had, like, one of them was like an offensive foul or something, but, like, he had a couple where he threw some pretty ambitious, like, passes in transition that was just got too far ahead of the guy that he was throwing it to. And while I was watching that, I was like, you know what? if he's throwing that to Shaden Sharp or to Denny Avdia, they're not missing that pass, and it's not going to be a turnover. So I'm going to be really interested to see what it looks like when he's playing with the Blazers' actual team.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, if you just look at the roster right now, you have Robert Williams III, who has had injury issues since he arrived in Portland, so we don't know, when or if he's going to be available. Of course, they got Donovan Clingan, who they drafted with their first pick last year, and now they've got young Hansen. And DeAndre Ayton is now in L.A. with the Lakers. And you got Duop Reif, who's a different style of center. But, it's looking like this is not necessarily like what you see from some rookies. Like, he should get regular playing time. Like, what's your feel on that situation?
Oh, I think he's going to have opportunities to play because, you just ran down the list, especially now that DA is out of the picture after they did the buyout. Clingan, I would say probably Clingan is going to be the starting center on opening night, all things being equal. But, we know what kind of the conditioning stuff was with him last year. He's not going to be able to play more than like 30 minutes a game. And then you look at, the rest of the rotation. Like you said, Wap is kind of more of a situational big. He's not going to play in every matchup. And, if Robert Williams is healthy, he could be the starter or, he could play some minutes. But, just given what we've seen over the last, he's played 26 games over his 2 seasons in Portland combined. So you can't really pencil in Rob ever, being healthy and available. And you should be treating it as anything he gives you as kind of a bonus just because you don't know what's going to happen with his injury history. But, there are going to be minutes there for Hansen. And I'm just really interested to see how it looks because it is going to be kind of a learning curve for him, not just like getting up to the speed of the NBA game, but then also like the language stuff, the cultural stuff, all that stuff. Once the NBA season starts, that's going to get even harder for him than it's going to be in Summer League. And then you look at, the other moves that the Blazers made, like, the Drew Holiday trade was clearly a win-now move. So this is not a situation where they're going into the season saying, we don't care how many games we win, we just want to, have our young guys get better like it's been the last couple of years. Like, they're trying to be better, like you're trying to be better than they were last year. So I'm interested to see how quickly he can contribute to that. I think based on what we saw from Summer League, I think there's a chance it could be quicker than people think.
No question about it. Now, Sean, obviously in Portland, we're excited about what we've seen so far, but from the people you've run into who are outside of Portland, who cover the league or around basketball, have you been able to gather kind of their impressions of what they've seen from Hansen thus far?
Well, I've talked to front office people from a couple of other teams that also worked him out during the draft process, and they really liked him, and they were impressed with him, and they have, the kind of the blowback, I'll say this, the blowback that they got on draft night for going so far off of whatever the public board was, none of that stuff is coming from anybody from any team that actually worked him out and had him in and has actually seen him play in person. The thing about this whole thing, the way that the reaction to it has been in the whole pre-draft process is so fascinating to me because part of why it was so far off the board and so far off anybody's radar is it's just so hard it's like even a more extreme version of like, remember in 2013 when the Bucks drafted Giannis with like the 15th pick and all of anybody had ever seen of him really was like this grainy footage of him basically playing against high schoolers, and so nobody really knew what to make of the pick. This is like a more extreme version of that because in China, like these Chinese games are not shown anywhere outside of China, and like it's really hard to find film and it's hard to find like good intel about him. So a lot of people, I think, who were down on the pick just kind of had never seen him and just didn't know what to make of it and didn't think it would translate just because they just didn't know one way or the other. But I think after these couple of Summer League games, and people have seen what he does, I think the whole league is kind of noticing, like, oh, okay, maybe the Blazers did know something that everybody else didn't know.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. The one thing I do trust right now with this franchise a lot is Joe Cronin and Mike Schmitz. I think those two guys together and the synergy within the front office is really nice. Now, outside of Hansen, I know a lot of people are excited about Caleb Love, and we've seen City Siasko have a couple of highlight maneuvers. Anything else jump out at you outside of Hansen?
Well, Rayon Rupert had a really good first game, and then he didn't really do much in the second game. That's really the main guy outside of Hansen that I'm interested in from Summer League, and we'll see how he looks tomorrow night. But that's kind of a situation where this is really a big prove-it year for him because I know the Blazers still really like him, and they like what he could turn into, but he's going into the final year of his contract, and it's never like the greatest sign when somebody is going into their third season in the NBA and they're still playing Summer League. So he kind of has to show something this year, or else, they're going to have to decide whether he's still somebody that they are going to invest in.
All right, Sean Hiken is with us now. This is pretty exciting, but is it tomorrow you get a chance to go to the press conference with Commissioner Silver?
That is the plan, and it's going to be very interesting. I'm certainly going to, try. There's some stuff I want to figure out about, the Portland sales situation, which I've been asking around, at Summer League. I haven't really heard anything on that. I think it's still pretty early in the process, but I think the bigger thing from a league standpoint is I think there's a chance. I don't know whether they're going to announce Seattle and Vegas as the cities tomorrow, but I think there's a good chance that at the very least he's going to announce that the committee has decided that they're going to move forward with expansion. So that's going to be a pretty exciting thing, and we might get official news on that tomorrow.
I mean, what's the one thing, or is there a main topic that you would like to learn from Commissioner Silver tomorrow? If there is one, what is it?
Well, I just kind of want to see, get the commissioner's perspective on, because, it's been a couple months now since since the Vulcans announced that the team is for sale, and you and I have talked about this many times on the air. Neither of us really think it's a serious possibility that the team could move, and there's certainly other people that feel otherwise and have been talking about it on various platforms. But I would like to see if the commissioner has thoughts on that, and I'm sure if he were to say something about how he doesn't want the league doesn't want the team to leave Portland, I would hope that would put some people's minds at ease locally about it.
The only downside to you being in Vegas is that you won't be there at Moda Center tomorrow for the name reveal for the WNBA team.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer to be missing that, but I'm going to be really interested to see what the reaction is. I've seen the logos that they have. I know what the stuff is, but I'm going to be interested to see what it's going to what the reaction is locally when they actually put that out publicly.
All right, Sean Hiken, you can read him at rosegardenreport.com. He is the Trailblazers insider for us. 620 Rip City Radio. He's in Vegas for Summer League. Sean, as always, I appreciate the insight and the update on young Hansen, who is taking Portland by storm right now. And I would imagine, well, speaking of numbers, has it been different when you put up a piece from Hansen? What type of hits are you getting on your site?
Oh, the subscriptions have been going crazy since the draft. The week of the draft was my biggest week of new subs since the Dame trade. So there's just a lot of interest in this kid. And I think some of it is China, but also I think people are just intrigued by it because it's such a fascinating story overall.
Yeah, it is fascinating. No question. All right, Sean, I appreciate it, man. Enjoy Vegas, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to talk to you, man.
Well, there you go. Another positive review on young Hansen in his Summer League debut. And, Sean, unlike me, is not prone to say things that are wildly over the top. So for him to be impressed, that tells you something. And I've learned over the course of time that you can't make bold predictions off of Summer League. It's Summer League basketball. I know a lot of people are excited about, Caleb Love, and he's looked good down there. Siasko. But it's just really hard to know. But Hansen is a guy who's going to play this year. One, because they need him to. But it is nice. I think the Blazers got some nice momentum going right now. Coming off of the strong finish to the season, the second half last year, the emergence of the young talent of Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, Denny, and Tamani. And then you carry that into the offseason where you draft a player who has a chance to make his debut in Vegas at Summer League and has looked good. And I think people are excited about that, which is awesome. And it's a lot of fun. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I'd love to get your take on what you think of Hansen's debut. Do you like what you see? 503-248-0620. Home Run Derby getting ready to kick off. It's going to be on ESPN at 5. As we enter the All-Star break in Major League Baseball. And then Chris Burkhart going to join me in studio coming up at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, if you're a Superman fan, I guess I should recommend you go see the new Superman movie. It's good. I was entertained. I am not someone that overthinks things too much. I don't have the mind to be able to do that. I was just getting in a discussion with Duke, the UPS driver, and he was asking me about some of the lyrics to the Weeknd songs. And I've got to be honest with you, I've mentioned this before several times. I really don't pay attention to lyrics because honestly, half the time I don't even know what they're saying. And Duke said, the Weeknd sings a lot about using cocaine. Can't feel my face. What do you think he's talking about? And my response was, I have no idea. I don't listen or really pay attention to lyrics because half the time I have no idea what they're singing. Now, if I pull up the lyrics online and I look at the actual lyrics, I'm like, oh, that's what they're singing? I have no idea. And I checked out the lyrics to Can't Feel My Face. Yeah, he might be singing about drugs there. It's quite possible. But again, for me, when it comes to music, it's does my ear like the way it sounds? Does it have a good tune? Are there some harmonies there? What about the drums, the guitar? Does it sound good? That's how I process music. And I know some people are different, really into the lyrics because the music speaks to them. Music doesn't speak to me like that through lyrics. I couldn't care less. Does it sound good? I'm in. Now, movies are the same way. I don't get too caught up in the plot, the this and the that. I just want to be entertained. And with the amount of money you're paying to go see a movie at the theater now, I better be entertained, dang it. But I got to thinking about it last night when I was thinking about Superman. I haven't seen a Superman movie that I haven't enjoyed except for one. And that was Superman 4 Quest for Peace. That was garbage. They shouldn't have done that. It was probably a money grab. But I enjoyed the first three with Christopher Reeve. I enjoyed Superman Returns. And I thought Man of Steel was a piece of art, a classic. Well done. Great actors. It was awesome. Man of Steel was phenomenal. But I thought the new Superman was great. Very entertaining. And I like the spin that James Gunn put on it. It's a good movie. Very entertaining. So if you're a Superman fan or a fan of superhero movies, I think you'll enjoy it. And I thought when I saw the preview and knew that Superman's dog Krypto was going to be in it, I thought that was a disaster, but it worked out. It was good. I took Kaylee and her friend to go see that movie last night. It was very nice. I learned something too. I think this was a Regal Cinema. I always buy my movie tickets with Fandango. I just got the app on my phone. Well, I got to the theater and I was like, crap, I don't have my phone. I left it at home. Didn't have my phone. So I had a brief moment of panic, but then I thought, they've got to have record of that. So I went in and told the dude at the front, I was like, yeah, I don't have my phone, but I bought tickets on Fandango. And he's like, yeah, walk over to the counter. Walk over to the snack counter, and they'll probably ask you a couple of details about your name or whatever. And they did. They were able to pull it and print off the tickets. So they took care of me. So there you have it. But it's a good movie. Very entertaining. I just don't understand why they have to keep changing it around. I thought they would build off of Man of Steel, but they gave us Batman and Superman. Dumb. That was dumb. But that's the way it goes. And now I guess the next movie I've not seen, I need to get out and see F1. I'd like to see that. And the Jurassic movie, everyone I've talked to that's seen that said it was good. But the next movie I have interest in, I think, is going to be Netflix, and that is Happy Gilmore 2. Concerned about the movie because the first one is a classic, and it's one that you can repeat the one-liners forever. You too good for your home? Suck my white bleep ball. It's got so many great one-liners. Doug, kick him off the tour. It's a classic. I just hope that Adam Sandler puts the love and care into this movie that is required to make it work, because you don't want it to be a disaster like that second Dumb and Dumber movie. Not the Dumb and Dumber, which I didn't even watch because it didn't have Jim Carrey in it. But that second one that he and Daniels did it sucked. But I'm hoping that Happy Gilmore, this new one that's coming out, is going to be solid. And my guess is it will be okay. But I'm nervous because you don't want to. I don't like to see classics, the ones that we remember forever, get ruined. Now, Travis is a big Back to the Future fan. Classic film, love it. But I wasn't a big fan of, 2 or 3. But we'll see what Adam Sandler's got, worked up for this one. So I think that one's coming out here like in a week or 2 on Netflix. So we'll see. But there you have it. But Superman was good. And the concert, the weekend, like I said, mad respect. Just the amount of work that he put into the show. 3 hours, 40 songs, the vocal work, it was nice. He's big time. Playboy Cardi, not so much. But that was big. 69,000 people there. Apparently, these seagulls were circling and bombing people on the 300 level. Fortunately, I was not in a position to get nailed by a gull. That's not what you want. You get all dressed up, get your concert gear on like my daughter and her friend did. You don't want a seagull circling. That's not a good scenario. You don't need that. All right, next Monday, the 21st, you can join us out at Langdon Farms Golf Club. It's going to be the We Play Foundation 5th annual golf tournament, 145 shotgun-style tournament. And then after the tournament, they're going to have a dinner, auction, prizes. You can also make additional purchases for birdies, eagles, prize tickets. 100% of the proceeds go to support the We Play Foundation. And, of course, Langdon Farms is a great place to have a tournament. But right now, if you go to weplayfoundation.org/events, you can purchase a single and play golf. You can get your foursome right there and be able to partake in the tournament. And the We Play Foundation, very simply, it is dedicated to providing or giving access to sports for all children. So it's a very good cause. Alex Brink, former Coug, Ryan DePaulo, former Oregon Duck, they put it on. It's going to be a good time. So go to weplayfoundation.org/events, and you can take part in the 5th annual We Play Open at Langdon Farms Golf Club. All right, Chris Burkhart's going to join me in studio coming up next hour. We'll get his take on Summer League and what he's seen from young Hansen. If you want to jump on board, I'd love your take on what you saw from Hansen, 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 5 o'clock, Chad here. We're at All-Star break in Major League Baseball. Home Run Derby is getting ready to start. You can check it out now on ESPN. The Seattle Mariners are 5 games back of the Houston Astros in the AL West as we sit at All-Star break. The Trailblazers Summer League action will continue tomorrow night in Vegas at 7 against the Pelicans. Chris Burkhart going to join me in studio coming up in 20 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on young Hansen. And then Courtside Monday goes live at 6 with Chris Burkhart on their home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Victor Wembanyama has been cleared to return to action following a blood clot in his foot from the NFL. Garrett Wilson gets an extension with the Jets. 4 years, $130 million. 49ers wideout Juwan Jennings wants to get paid or be traded. He's scheduled to make $7.5 million this year. All right, Chris Burkhart going to join me in studio in about 20 minutes. We'll get his take on what he's seen from young Hansen down in Las Vegas. If you want to join the conversation, I'd just love to know what you thought about Hansen in his Summer League debut. 503-248-0620. You can follow the show on our free iHeartRadio app. You can listen live or podcast the program there. And, of course, all of our live shows, local shows, are on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. Subscribe to the page, and you can watch the live stream for every local show. So we'll get Chris's thoughts. You know, I was impressed. I don't know what you thought. You know, when I get ready to watch Summer League basketball, as I've told you before, I just like to tune in to get a look at the new players, especially a first-round draft pick or someone that's highly touted. Like, I want to check out that player. I want to get their take. And so I tuned in, and I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't have high expectations because usually for big men in Las Vegas, it can be a struggle. So I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the way that Hansen came out and performed. Only 3 turnovers in the first game. He looked comfortable in the way he was operating, and you could see that the passing right out of the gate was elite. And that's what Joe Cronin talked about after the draft. That's also what was mentioned by Mike Schmitz when I spoke with him, that they believed the passing would translate very well to the NBA. Well, that was obvious from the start. But the overall comfort with how he moved on the floor, the way he looked out there with his teammates, the communication, and I keep going back to what Coach Billups said, that basketball is a universal language. So you've got a guy coming from a brand new country that doesn't speak the language, and yet when he's on the floor, he understands exactly what's going on because there's certain signals and signs that basketball players just know. And that's really what it's all about. So I was impressed with that. He looked comfortable and looked confident. And in that first game, 24 minutes, 10 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, had 1 steal and 3 blocks, but just 3 turnovers. So right away, you can see the comfort level. Now, a couple of things in regard to Hansen. Now, I spoke with someone that spoke with a high-level general manager in the NBA. I can't give up the name because it was given to me in confidence, but this general manager was impressed with the pick by Cronin. They had scouted him throughout the process, thought he was a really good player, and they thought it was a smart move by Portland to grab him, where they did. Now, the other thing I was told, too, is that, you know, the reason why the Blazers took him at 16, they think he was going to go off the board possibly with the next pick, and he would not have been there, you know, past 20 for sure. So they found their guy. They went out and they got him. But he looked like he was having a lot of fun out there. But the way he moved, very smooth for a big man, but the passing was elite. And I have a fondness for, big guys who can pass, like Arvydas Sabonis. And when you have a player like that that's got that type of vision, the anticipatory passing, setting up teammates, that creates a lot of, good chemistry out there on the floor. So very fun to watch. I really, if I'm the Blazers, I couldn't have dreamed up a better debut for Hansen. Let's go out to Clackamas. Dave is in Clackamas. Dave, appreciate the phone call, buddy. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What'd you think about the Hansen debut?
Hey, Chad, I love it very much. I'm just getting really excited to get over young Hansen. I didn't know about him. I have to admit, when the Blazers drafted him, I thought, okay. But then I heard all the criticisms about he should have been a second-round pick. But when I saw him play, Chad, what I love about great passing big men, or any passers really, they're visionaries.
Yeah.
I've always been geeked up in the past with Bill Walton, Arvydas Sabonis, and when I saw young Hansen, and he's only 20 years old, and he's passing the way he's doing. He's blocking shots. He can put the ball on the floor. He can create his own dribble, and then he can either score or pass to a player. I tell you, Chad, I'm just so excited. I know it's summer league. I'm trying to calm myself down. I know it's summer league, but I don't know. I just am more excited about a player like that, and he's an all-around player. I love all-around players, especially passers, Chad. I'm just, I don't know. I haven't been this excited in a long time.
Well, Dave, I appreciate the call, and I think there are a lot of Blazer fans that feel the same way you do. They're excited, very excited. And I do. I'm all about all-around players. I want guys who can play on both ends. I want guys who can impact the game in different ways. Larry Bird, who is my favorite player of all time, there were times where he would dominate a basketball game and not even be taking shots because they put him out there on the high post, and he'd just be feeding the ball to his teammates, creating movement within the offense. But 20 years old, and this is his first taste of the NBA, and he's going to get a chance to play and develop. Love his body, too. Very good body for a guy of his size. Let's go to Aaron in Salem. Aaron, I appreciate the call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What was your take on Hansen's debut?
Hey, Chad. Thanks for bringing me on, man. I thought it was really exciting. I mean, Summer League can be so scrappy, and that game 2, I mean, it was the second night of a back-to-back for a young guy, and, I'm not trying to get my expectations up too high, but I think some of the skills and the basketball IQ that he showed with his sight, I'm excited. I listened to Mike Richmond on the Locked On Blazers, and he brought up a point. In that second game, he was playing against a guy who isn't known very well, but he played for North Carolina, and he's extremely strong. He's like the all-time double-double leader at UNC, and I think it was just a challenge, especially on the second night of a back-to-back for Hansen, and we shouldn't hang too much on that, but I think if he builds some strength, gets his body right before the season, we could see some really fun things from him this year.
Oh, dude, Aaron, I appreciate the call, buddy. Thank you so much, and have a great afternoon. I agree. You can't read too much into that second game. And like Aaron said, he struggled a bit, but, with time, as he continues to adjust to the game, he's going to get stronger. Obviously, like we saw with Klingon last year, it's going to take time for him to work up his conditioning to be able to play at the NBA level for extended minutes, but that'll come with time. But also to adjust to the physicality and the stronger guys he's going to face. The talent level that Hansen's facing now, it's a step up, obviously. But I think a lot to be excited about. Jason Hassler reached out and he said, Chad, Young seems like the kind of guy you want on your team. Solid basketball IQ at 20. The passing can only get better. definitely looking like a first-rounder. Yeah, that's my takeaway after watching the first couple of games is that he looks like a first-rounder, not a second-rounder. And they took him where they took him because they didn't think he was going to be around much longer. Might have been gone at 17. So I keep going back to what I've said about this front office. The thing I trust most about the Blazers right now, I love the synergy within the front office. Joe Cronin has put together a very good team of people that he trusts, and then he made his best hire, what I believe is his best hire, Mike Schmitz, who is a basketball guru and considered one of the young, bright minds in the game of basketball. Well, he's got a great eye for talent, and they've been all over this, scouting Hansen for a couple of years. They wanted him bad because they believe he's got a chance to be a player. And now with DeAndre Ayton out of the way, and you've got Robert Williams III, who has only played 26 games for the Blazers in 2 years. So we don't know what his availability is all about. And then you got Duop Reef. What that means is Hansen's going to play. And I'm excited about that because I think Hansen needs to play to develop, to get on the floor, get used to the game, get used to the competition, get stronger, get his wind up, and really just continue to adjust. And I can't wait to see what he can become. But at 20 years old, what's going to happen when he gets comfortable with the surroundings, adjusting to a new country? What's going to happen when he's able to communicate better language-wise? And what's going to happen as he continues to, get on the floor and get comfortable? The other thing that's nice, look at how many Trailblazer teammates are down there watching him. Now, I understand it's not hard to get an NBA player to hit Vegas, but they don't have to do that. It's summertime. They could be off doing whatever they want to do, but you've got a number of his teammates down there watching him, cheering for him, encouraging him. I think that's great. The Blazers have done a very good job of, putting together a young nucleus of guys that they like, two-way players, athletic guys, defensive-minded, but also they've developed a very good culture, inside the locker room. So I think it's great to see the guys down there supporting Hansen. And, we'll see how things continue to shake out. Just maybe the Blazers got a steal there. That's what I'm hoping for. That we look back and it's like, wait, Hansen was taken when? In the number 16 overall? I want it to become one of those steals, right? Because we're all aware of some of the misfortune the franchise has had, but I'm hoping this is one where they just strike gold. But Hansen's a very likable guy. He's very happy out there. He's smiley. You could tell he's having the time of his life. Like, I want him to do well. I just can't believe he's 20. He's 20. When I was 20, I was a moron. Like, really dumb. Focused on whatever I was focused on when I was 20. And Hansen's out there with a lot of pressure to perform. But it's a great opportunity for, Coach Billups to kind of, shape him and mold him into the type of player he wants to be. But the passing is, both Schmitz and Cronin, they've raved about it. They believe it's elite, and it's the skill that really stands out that they thought would translate well to the NBA level. All right, when we come back, Chris Burkhart's going to join me in studio. We'll get his take on what he's seen. Tomorrow at 5:20, I will preview the Open Championship with PGA David Coleman. I'm looking forward to that tournament. We'll get his take on Rory, on Scotty Scheffler. The Open Championship will kick off on Thursday. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Chris Burkhart comes in studio. He's like, I don't have my adapter. And for some reason in radio, these little adapters, what are they, like 2 1/4 inch?
Yeah. It's like,
It's what you plug your headphones in that goes into the adapter where you can be able to hear through your headphones in the studio. They're the equivalent of cigarettes in a prison, meaning they're of great value. And if you leave them lying around in the studio, someone will walk in and just take it like it's theirs. And it drives me crazy. You just walk into someone else's studio and take the adapters. So Chris and I came up with a nice little hiding spot. When he's done using it tonight after courtside, he can drop it in the box, and I'll be able to find it so no one else can steal it.
You're not supposed to say that. Now someone's listening.
Oh, my goodness. I got to be honest with you, Burkhart. I don't think the Blazers could have dreamed up a better debut for young Hansen.
I mean, the very first play was a highlight. Like, the very first play. Like, I mean, come on.
It was awesome. It really was. I was wildly impressed. I know the numbers were good in that first game against Golden State, but what impressed me the most was just the way he was moving and the comfort level in which he was operating out there. He didn't look out of place at all.
Yeah, I tweeted it. I said, maybe this is the IQ thing that Joe and Chauncey had been talking about, because you can tell that he moves with purpose, right? Every single move he has, there's intention behind it.
Yeah.
And even if the play ends up not working, there was a reason he made that play or reason he made that move. The wheels are churning. Like, it's there. I think you can see what they were talking about when they said he has a basketball IQ.
I was texting with a high-level national NBA guy who's down there at Summer League, and he made a very good point, too, that he actually thinks Hansen is being held back right now because the majority of guys he's playing with are not going to be in the NBA, lower level talent-wise. So he thinks that when he gets on the floor with guys who are at or above his level, it's going to make him that much better.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. I think you got to understand, too, like the teams that he's played against so far, too. Do you want to put him in a position realistically where you know what you got in him, you want to find things, but, like, do you need him to go 100% to his bag to beat up on an Armando Bacot who's fighting for a roster spot, or someone's like he's going to foul the heck out of him and play tough? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do that, man.
But you're right, the passing. Joe Cronin talked about the passing after the draft. Remember, he said he was asking about Chinese Jokic and whether that name was fitting. And he said, look, no one's at that level. But the passing is, like, they really thought the passing was elite. And when I asked Mike Schmitz when he came on the show, I said, what was the skill or what did you see where you're like, okay, that's something that I think will translate? He mentioned the passing. And we saw it right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. And
I love big guys that can pass like that. Anticipatory passing like Jokic. It's awesome.
Right. I actually think my favorite pass of his so far has been a turnover. And there was one, and I cannot remember who was in the corner. It might have been City Sissoko, probably one of the other guys who's not going to make the roster. In the corner, Young's up top, and you see that he wants him to cut baseline and hit him. And as soon as he makes a little head movement, he throws the pass, and it goes out of bounds. Turnover. And at first, like, dumb pass, but you're like, no, it was a perfect pass. The guy didn't cut. And if he would have cut right when Young told him to cut, easy dunk, easy 2 points. And as soon as the whistle blow, you see Young look at him and go, making the motion cut. Like, he's on these guys, telling them what he wants them to do. And so that was my favorite pass, and it was a turnover because, again, he was making the right play, and it was beautiful.
Man, Chauncey was spot on when he was asking about the communication barrier, language barrier. He's like, hey, basketball is universal language.
Yep.
Well, after seeing him out there, when he's on the basketball floor, you don't need to speak the same language as your teammate to know exactly what you need to do. Young knows basketball and how to communicate without doing it verbally.
Yeah.
It makes sense now.
Well, look at a team like Golden State that we've watched dominate this league, right? Now they're at the tail end, but we watched them. Those guys could probably play an entire game without ever saying a word to each other,
100%.
right? Because you're on the same page and you're speaking basketball. So when you're speaking basketball, things just flow, man.
How about some of these numbers that Hiken was throwing out there where CCTV, the first Summer League game against the Warriors was on that so that the Chinese people could have access? 4 million viewers for a Summer League game. That's pretty big.
There's also a huge Chinese market for Golden State too. I mean, the biggest Chinatown in the United States, huge contingent of Chinese fans
100%.
over there. So you double down on that, and yeah, the numbers go through the roof. The NBA people do not understand, because here in the U.S. people will dog it. Like, oh man, every sport that's not the NFL or college football is dying, right? Why? No, in China, NBA is massive. I mean, massive. And you add the population density over there, how it just dwarfs everything we got here. Like, we were just looking at this, Brendan and I, because we're weirdos like that. That like you look at the list of the biggest cities in the world, and it's like New York is 11th at like 18 mil. And Shanghai is 3rd at like 28. Like, it's like that much bigger than New York City. And China's just peppered. It's just like all these people just zoned in on the Pacific Northwest.
Well, I love how Hiken put it. There's more NBA fans in China than there are people in the U.S.
and he's not wrong. That's a wild thing to say, but he's not wrong.
Yeah. The other thing that was interesting, the jersey sales, 10 times as many jerseys sold at this point this year compared to last year with Klingon. And that's because of the popularity he has in his own country of China. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it is amazing. And I think a good thing, too, is he doesn't seem like a guy who worries about expectations so far. He's just having fun, man. So hopefully that doesn't weigh on him, that he's got the entire country watching him. But, man, it's great to see. It's great to see the fans out there. I mean, you saw the picture that Sean tweeted, like the media contingent.
Huge.
I mean, that rarity to see those at Summer League.
Yeah, to the point where the Blazers are probably going to add a Chinese social media addition to their team.
Oh, they absolutely have to. That'd be so smart.
You have to. Get someone who knows the culture, the people, that can connect with Hansen, and then he can be a conduit for all those Chinese basketball fans. It's a perfect idea. And then think about how many people will subscribe to Blazer Vision now to watch the Blazer games.
All right? I mean, that's
real. It's huge.
Well, it's like Sean pointed out when I was talking to him last week, the fact that the draw that the Blazers had for Summer League is an absolutely terrible draw if you're in Vegas covering this team. No one wants the night games. I mean, that game, that second game on Saturday didn't even start till like 8:30 because all the other games are going long, right? Ended at like 11. It was insanity, right? But you got an 8 o'clock tip, a 7:30 tip, a 7 o'clock tip, and then your latest tip is 5 p.m. And Sean pointed out, he's like, yeah, an 8 p.m. tip, that's noon in China. Like, they're hitting the lunch break. Like, you know what I mean? They're giving it prime time, basically, for everyone to watch. Because if you put it at 10 o'clock, yeah, no one's watching. It's midnight, dude. They're sleeping. So it's a smart move. The NBA knows what they're doing, man.
You know what's funny? In that press conference following the draft, and you were there for it, Joe Cronin, he was asked about how they were going to handle Hansen. Would he go down with the G League? And he quickly was like, no, he's going to be with the club. I was like, what? Well, now if you look at the roster, Ayton's down in L.A. with the Lakers. Wap is not even a rotation player, although you can use them with certain matchups. And you got Klingon. Robert Williams III is a very good player, but he's only played in 26 games in 2 years. Like, Hansen's going to play a lot this year.
Yeah. He's your question mark. Robert Williams is, right? He's your question mark. But even if he's a healthy full go, he's not playing those back-to-backs just like he didn't last year. So there's going to be ample opportunity for Hansen to get in there. You know, and Billups was asked straight up at that press conference, like, do you see a situation where you play, Twin Tower style, him and DC together? And he was like, no. He's like, they complement.
Shut that down in a hurry.
Instantly. Well, he's like, they complement each other, but they wouldn't play well off each other. And you can see that they wouldn't. I mean, that you'd be so destroyed defensively because you'd have two just lumbering bigs who can't move around like that. But what's interesting is how much the offense is going to change when he's in, once he gets going, because his offensive dynamic is so much more impactful than Klingon's when it comes to distributing that basketball.
And when you have a player like that on the floor, that his teammates know that if you move, just like with Jokic, right? If you're continuing to work within the offense, he'll find you.
And look at some of the guys they have right now, like Tumani and Denny are massive movers. Move, cut. And so if you can get Shea and Scoot and those other guys to understand that moving off the ball is just as important as moving with the ball, you're going to start opening up a lot of avenues for a guy like Hansen to get those passes off.
I think Blazer fans are enjoying it too because he's not like your traditional American-born player. Like, he's out there smiling and having a good time. Like, it's infectious. People see that and they're like, that's awesome.
Right. I mean, there's the picture. He looks over and realizes that Media Row's taking a picture of him. So in the middle of the game, he just puts up his little peace sign and smiles to him. Like he's just having fun hooping, man, and that's great to see.
Oh, one thing I was going to mention about Drew Holiday, I had a little birdie that I mentioned this over the weekend that, a lot of people were concerned when they were able to get back the 2 second-round picks because of injury concerns. The way it was explained to me is that when a player's 35 and he's played in the league as long as Holiday has, you can pretty much find anything that you want to find.
Without a doubt.
And go back to the team and be like, hey, we have concerns here. So I think the Blazers were just using some good gamesmanship to get back a couple of picks. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't believe that the injury concerns are anything that were unexpected or that would prevent him from playing.
Absolutely. And that's the same thing that I've heard, and that was the same thing that I thought as soon as it happened, because I firmly believe, Chad, that that the Boston Celtics are not trading Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis if they didn't need to get out of that second apron and readjust, right? And then Brad Stevens doubled down and said that was the case. It was all a cap move. It wasn't because they needed to get off him because they weren't competitive, right? So now you sit there, and the Celtics moved off Drew. They moved off KP. They're making all their offseason moves, and Portland kind of has the power to throw a wrench in all that by saying, yeah, we're gonna nix the trade because we don't like his physical. So as I said last week, is if the injury concern on a scale of 1 to 10 comes back as a 1, you go back to Boston and say, yeah, we got a concern and we want those picks back. And Boston is in a place where they can't really say no because they would have to start over, and all the other teams have already signed free agents, made their moves, their books are reset, and it adjusts the market for how you can trade them.
That's right. That was just genius maneuvering by the Blazers to take advantage of the situation.
And they did.
So now it becomes a player-for-player deal, and you're getting a guy who's going to be able to play.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a smart GM move. Saw it from 1,000 miles away, and I think Brad Stevens and co, they're smart enough to understand it too. Yeah, we're not going to mess this up because of, you win this one. Checkmate. Move on.
Genius. Because you're right. Boston was desperate to get that money off the books.
Mm-hmm. And it would have hurt them if they would have flipped that, because the market for Drew, I don't think they would have been able to do a move right now. They would have had to go into the season with him, and because you have all the guys who couldn't be traded for 60 days and all the stuff with the new signees, and everyone's books had already started to look a little different. It would have handicapped them a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'm thrilled with what I see from Hansen. Again, I don't take too much from Summer League. All I know is that he looks much better today and much more comfortable today than I had imagined going in.
Yeah, he did. Because
I thought it was going to be clumsy, and
yes,
it wasn't that.
I did. I agree. I mean, Summer League is set up for big guys to struggle. It absolutely is. And it's not like he's been blowing the doors off. I mean, he had 10 points, 4 rebounds in the first game. Like, he's not putting up, 20 and 15 and 10 assists, but he's playing smart basketball, playing within himself, making the right plays. Like I said, my biggest takeaway thus far is just the fact that you can tell that he's not really overthinking it. The mind is there. He understands basketball. I understand exactly what Joe was saying when he said he has basketball IQ now.
Yeah. And a lot of that basketball IQ stuff, you can't really teach it. Like, some guys, they just have it. It's part of their blueprint. Like Jokic. Jokic has got the IQ. He's got that anticipatory passing. He sees things take place before they happen and is able to set his teammates up beautifully. And hopefully Hansen can develop into that type of player.
Yeah.
It was fun, man.
Yeah.
Hansen's cool. He's a cool dude. 20 years old. He's a kid.
He is. He absolutely is a kid. But that type of mentality is fun, too. And I think it's kind of fun to just have that, too, because you have a couple of the guys on the roster who are, like, I don't know if passive is the right word, but they're just very, very quiet, right? Yeah. And Young is obviously, a little relaxed, but in a good, playful way, where that's the type of mentality that can get players going too, man. It's like, dude, we're just here to have fun, man. Let's play hoop. Let's go.
It's fun to see a lot of his teammates down there cheering him on. Those guys don't have to be down there. They're choosing to be there and support their guy. A lot of guys down there. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and again, it's always nice to see, obviously, the one guy in the situation who's probably sitting there going, what the heck is Donovan Clingan? Yeah, he's the one who's been doing the in-game interviews and is just super complimentary for him and cheering for him. Like, it's the team game, man, and they understand that.
Chris Burkhart, he's got Courtside Monday coming up at 6 o'clock. Are you a Superman fan?
No. I mean, I get Superman, but I think he's like one of the most boring superheroes on the planet, even though he's not from this planet.
Uh-huh.
He's faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. He has every power under the sun. How are we going to stop him? Like kryptonite. Oh, no.
That was good. I took my daughter and her friend up to see The Weeknd up in Seattle.
I saw that. You're like, you were sitting there like, I thought The Weeknd literally meant like Saturday, Sunday. The Weeknd, didn't know it was a show.
Had no idea. I didn't know. Like, I obviously, when I went through and started listening to some of his music, I was like, oh, I've heard several of his songs. I just didn't know it was The Weeknd. He spells it Weeknd.
Mm-hmm.
Weeknd. He was impressive. Like, he put on a show.
He's good.
Good vocals, a great vocal range, R&B, some jazz. I mean, he's got some soul. He does a little bit of everything. Like, he was impressive. 3 hours, 40 songs. Like, he was working it. The Playboy Cardi was just awful. Awful.
I mean, if I was there sitting next to you, I probably would have agreed with you wholeheartedly.
But I've never been to a concert like that because, again, it's not my genre, but the bass was so intense, like it was vibrating my body. I've never felt anything like it.
You were living it. That was the Weeknd experience right there.
But my daughter and her friend had a blast. But so just get ready because as your daughters continue to age, they're going to have you on different adventures, as you're well aware of.
Oh, yes, well aware of. That's going to happen.
Yeah. It's weird to see your teenage daughter get dressed for a concert. They were both dressed appropriately, but they wanted to look a certain way.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm getting there. So my oldest will be 10 next month, so we're right around the corner, and she's turned into a little preteen. That is for sure.
But that's why I thank young Hansen, because as the concert was going, I was able to double dip, you know, having the phone in hand so you can watch Summer League basketball or whatever you need to help pass the time. Very helpful.
Isn't living in this day and age with technology beautiful?
Gosh, I can't believe it. I just can't imagine being young Chad and wanting access to sports but not being able to access sports because we didn't have anything like that. And I look at today and how we're able to access anything at any time.
Young Chad would have been the kid that his parents are struggling to get off YouTube because he would on YouTube Kids all the time.
Dude, my mom would have been shutting me down. I would have been limited constantly.
You would have limited to an hour of technology because you could not put down. But you would have been like me though. Like my daughter, like if she's watching YouTube, like right now she's doing just nothing but music videos, which you would have done too. Obviously, my youngest is like Peppa Pig is a thing. You would have been like me, and it's like, okay, what sports game can I watch?
Yes.
Oh yeah, the 1975 Oklahoma Sooners on my baby Chad's ready to go.
I watch old games. I'm not joking. Like 4 or 5 times a week, I'll go back and pick an old game to watch. I absolutely love it. Like someone just placed it, but a game that no one would care about, but it's one of the games my dad and I went to. 1991 Kingdome Broncos and Seahawks. Someone just put that. I've been waiting for it to pop up on YouTube. It finally popped up a few days ago. Went back and watched it and just relived that memory because that's really what it's about for me. It's going back and watching a game so I can remember some of the things that were going on in my life and what it was like to experience that moment with my dad or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
like that to me is just fun because those sporting events, and you know what this is like because you've been to games with your dad. Like, you know, when you share something with your dad or those big games and they mean something, like there's that connection inside of you it's a special thing.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely, man. And you get those moments and you enjoy it. And it's like the game I took Dad down to San Francisco to watch a game. Remember all that when went up to Seattle? You remember that? And it's like the game for me. Like I got him tickets to the game. I didn't go with him because I was in the marching band at Oregon, but he was at the Civil War for the Roses, right? Which is one of the best Civil Wars of all time. So it's like every once in a while I'll stumble upon that one on YouTube. I also was lucky enough to be good friends with one of the people on the training staff for the football team, and he would just give me the discs that they'd hand out the team. So I have like 3, 4, 5 different bowl games on DVD that no one else has. But yeah, Civil War for the Roses is one that if I stumble upon, like I feel like I'm in Autzen reliving that thing.
That was the Masoli run?
Oh yes, the 4th down trucks guys. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. Sorry, Brendan.
Dude,
Actually, the funny thing, all I remember from that game is LeGarrette Blount was suspended all year until Chip Kelly said, let's throw him in against Oregon State.
Sounds like sour grapes, okay, my guy?
But really, we were fortunate there. We had back-to-back years, 08 and 09, where you had the Rose Bowl on the line. The unique part about the 09 game is that both teams were vying for the Rose Bowl. If Oregon State would have won in 08 at home, they would have gone to the Rose Bowl, but they didn't. And they
Just ripping
lost
those
both games.
Band-Aids open.
But that was cool
Not
to
on
have
purpose.
that game. It's cool when the local rivalry has everything riding on it.
Those are my two favorite Civil Wars. I mean, seriously, you play all year. I mean, things have changed a little bit, but you play all year to get to the Rose Bowl. That's what you want. National championship's even better, but you're in the pack. You want to represent the pack of the Rose Bowl, and you get your in-state rival. Winner goes to the Rose Bowl. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I think my favorite Civil War of all time is the 98 game down at Parker Stadium when Simonton went crazy. That was a wild game that went into overtime. That's probably the best that I've seen, but the 09 game is right up there. And that Masoli run was legendary.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And Masoli was built like a truck, and yet he was a quarterback.
Yeah, he did not look like a quarterback.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Chris Burkhart's in studio. Courtside Monday coming up at 6. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, where were you hanging out with the family, Burkhart? You put a picture out on social, but I couldn't tell where it was out, but you were enjoying the outdoor weather.
When was that? Yesterday? I don't even know anymore.
Over the weekend?
Oh, we went to the zoo.
Oh, the zoo. That's right.
Yeah, we went to the zoo.
I haven't been up to the zoo recently. How is it?
Dude, our zoo's top notch, man. It's one of the best. It's so nice. The kids loved it. We walk right in, and they have the little mountain goats before you even check in. You can see them. My daughter, my 2-year-old, just goes, "Ma, goat, goat," and she just starts running over. Like, she loved it. It was good. It was a great day, man.
I love mountain goats. Their ability to climb is top notch.
Yeah.
We talk about young Hansen being an elite passer. Mountain goats are elite climbers.
Yes. I mean, it's wild how they do that and they don't fall. Like,
I can watch videos of goats. They love to play King of the Mountain, too, where they knock each other off and stuff, headbutt each other. Or goats that jump on top of horses and just hang out on their backs. Like, I love all that stuff.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's the zoo. I love the zoo. Those animals, they're amazing, man.
This weather's pretty nice. What do you got going on with the OSAA right now? Is it pretty much slow time of the year?
Nothing. It's the slow time of the year. We got to bounce down to Redmond here in a couple days for some summer meetings that we got to do. But, I mean, August is going to be the start of fall season. Practices will start back up. So it's going to be the gauntlet again right before we know it, man.
Redmond is a great place to have summer meetings.
Hey, you want to come with me? Because I'm staying at the Eagle Crest right on the course. So
you are?
Yeah.
You guys going to play golf?
I might bring the clubs.
Oh, that's what I did. I apologize. I called you the other day, and you were right in the middle of your round.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
I don't like to interrupt anyone's golf round.
I know. They're like, oh, another phone call distracts you. I'm like, I'm an important person, guys. Just relax. I don't like to ignore the boss.
Where were you playing?
About up there at the Mount Hood Resort.
Oh, nice.
Which I had never golfed before. My golf game is real bad. Like, my buddies were like, oh, last time you went golfing with us was almost exactly a year ago. I'm like, yeah, it was like the last time you invited me.
Yeah, but it's still fun to be out there on the course.
I know. I said if you count my strokes compared to theirs, I was like, technically, I played like 36 holes today.
I've never played that course. How pretty is it up there?
Oh, my gosh. That might have been one of the most picturesque
scenic
courses I've ever played. It was beautiful.
Dude, is that an 18-hole course?
It was. They have 3 9-holes.
Three
9-hole courses. So they played 18, but you kind of go through what 3 you want to play, or what 2 you want to play. But yeah.
So when you play 18 up there, you can pick 2 of the 3.
Yeah,
Genius.
Mm-hmm.
They have par 5s too.
Oh yeah, it's a full on man. There are some tough holes there for sure. Like it was a challenging course.
I mean, the weather was nice, so you probably had clear visibility of everything around you.
Well, clear visibility, and the course is kind of. Obviously, it's right at the foot of the mountain, right? And so the backdrop on every hole is just the timber as far as the eye can see. So you don't lose your ball, man. Every single time you hit it, it's a perfect dark backdrop, and I know exactly where my ball is. It's good to go, man.
Dude, I know my eyesight's not getting better with age, but there's a lot of times where I'll hit a drive, and you're right, when it gets up in the sky with some of the haze behind it, like it's hard to keep track of the ball depending on what the sky is like. I find that to be a challenge sometimes.
It's only a matter of time before they get a little chip in the ball that doesn't affect flight trajectory, so you can just GPS where my ball at. Like,
dude, that'd be nice. I need that sometimes. That would speed up play on the course for those dudes that take off. They disappear for like 5 minutes looking for a ball.
Yeah. I had one of those holes from hell, though. Like, my golf game is not good. Like, I want to improve my golf game so I can feel confident that I can go golf with you one day. You would hate it if I went golfing with you right now. But I did have one of those holes where it just ruined my day, Chad, because I'm golfing so good for me. I'm feeling good. I'm finally getting in my groove. I put one in the sand trap, and this sand trap, it was hard sand, super steep. Took me 8 shots to get out of that thing. Everyone just hit slip and just right back. And it was, I was missing it by that much, man. And I was just like, okay, I'm done for the day. This just ruined my entire day.
That's sand bunkers.
That's golf.
Oh, that's golf. Yeah, that's great. I got to get up there. I love, being able to play in those type of scenic environments. It's nice. So the Blazers are going to be back in action tomorrow. Maybe Hansen, the one thing I noticed with Hansen is that conditioning, just like it was with Klingon, those big guys, it's going to take some time to get the conditioning down. He did appear to be a little more winded in that second game against Memphis.
Yeah, but it was also obviously a far more physical game than that first game That team's. I mean, they're playing a couple guys that are going to be, legit on their roster. So, and Armando Bacot, who, like I said, that's a guy who's fighting for his NBA, future. He's a big physical guy. So they pushed him around a little bit, and you could tell that there's obviously still stuff to refine. No one is out over their skis thinking this guy is legit Jokic right now, but plenty to like from him in Vegas.
Do you have any NBA podcasts that you enjoy watching? Like, I finally got into Bill Simmons recently, and I think he does a heck of a job. Do you have anyone you watch that you enjoy?
No, because the thing is, quite frankly, we do so much NBA and this and that. Like, I'll listen to him, but I listen to other stuff. So, like, I listen to an awesome retro video game podcast, Remember the Game, where that was one I told you the other day. I'm like, dude, I'm listening to one he's talking about Contra, Chad. You got to listen to this. Like, I listen to more of that stuff than I do the basketball ones.
What was the Contra game? Not the original, but you said there's one that you like.
Contra 3, The Alien Wars.
Okay.
Super Nintendo.
I've got to try that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Dude, I have watched some of the retro podcasts on video games. If they're talking about 80s arcade games, I'm in.
Yeah.
I want all of that.
Video games are awesome.
They don't suck. I know that much. Do you have 26 yet?
Oh yeah. Me and my Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. We're gonna win a championship eventually.
That's awesome.
Oh.
I'm gonna wait. I was instructed I have to wait until August 28th because I think someone's already purchased it for me. So I got to hold off for a bit, but I'm pumped. I can't wait.
It's amazing.
It's good.
Is it noticeably better than last year?
It's tougher. It's more realistic.
Good.
And it's good.
All right, Courtside Monday is coming up next with Chris Burkhart. Big thanks to Travis Demers, Sean Hiken, and Chris Burkhart. Big thanks to Brendan Slaughter. I'll be back with the Rip City Drive tomorrow at 3. We'll preview the Open Championship with PJ Dave at 5:20.